Hello and welcome back to Shakesyear. We are working on The Rape of Lucrece, and it is a poem about sexual violence towards women and suicidal ideation. And recently we've been looking at a painting about war, so if any of those are triggers for you, you might want to tune out. But if you're going to hang out and listen to today's stanzas, we're looking at stanzas 225 to 228. And Lucretia, as mentioned, has been staring at this painting of the Trojan War, and she empathized with Hecuba, and she railed against Paris, and she saw Sinon and was like, there's no way that a man that looks that normal could harbor such evil thoughts, because Sinon was a traitor. But then she remembers Sextus Tarquinius was her husband's friend and greeted her very kindly when he came back to Colatium. So she's like, oh yeah, I guess really awful people can look completely normal. And she starts tearing at the painting to vent her frustration. She wants to, destroy Sinon. It's misplaced anger, but that's where it's going, is at this painting. And stanza 225 picks up by saying, thus ebbs and flows the current of her sorrow, and time doth weary time with her complaining. She looks for night, and then she longs for morrow, and both she thinks too long with her remaining. Short time seems long, in sorrow's sharp sustaining. Though woe be heavy, yet it seldom sleeps, and they that watch see time, how slow it creeps. Which all this time hath overslipped her thought that she with painted images had spent, being from the feeling of her own grief brought by deep surmise of others' detriment, losing her woes in shows of discontent. It easeth some, though none it ever cured, to think their dolour others have endured. But now the mindful messenger, come back, brings home his lord and other company, who finds his Lucrece clad in mourning black, and round about her tear-stained eye blue circles streamed, like rainbows in the sky. These water gulls in her dim element foretell new storms to those already spent, which, when her sad beholding husband saw, amazedly in her sad face he stares. Her eyes, though sod in tears, looked red and raw, her lively colour killed with deadly cares. He hath no power to ask her how she fares. Both stood like old acquaintance in a trance, met far from home, wondering each other's chance. So these first couple stanzas, the first one is she's on sort of this seesaw of what she wants and how she's feeling, which makes sense. She wants to feel better, and then she gets reminded of something, and the whole Sinon thing and the Hecuba thing, she's emotionally a mess right now. And then it also talks a little bit about how time moves slowly when you're sad and when you're grieving, and she's getting a little bit irritated with the fact that it's taking so long for her husband to come home, but also not really realizing how much time she's actually spent in this painting trying to find somebody to grieve with her, and saying, it helps a little bit for her to be able to quote unquote commiserate or empathize with, say, Hecuba in the painting. But the end of this second stanza says that it never actually cures anybody to know that somebody else feels the same way that you do or has suffered the same way that you do. But she spent enough time with the painting that now her husband has come back. The messenger has brought her husband and a whole train of people back, and he sees her, and he can see that she's been crying. He can see that it looks like she's about to start crying again. And the two of them, he's shocked by this. So they just stand and they look at each other for a minute, because he doesn't quite know how to ask her how she is when she looks like that. But in tomorrow's stanzas, he'll get there. So I'll see you then for that. Mwah.